So are you ready to PR yourself? We'll remove the mystery from all things PR, and we'll discuss everything from our top strategies to tips and tricks and everything that you can utilize to further enhance your brand or your message. I've been in media, I'm a journalist, and I'm also a publicist. I am Leah Frazier, CEO of Think3 Media, and your host for PR Yourself with Leah Frazier. Let's go. Welcome back to another episode of PR Yourself with Leah Frazier. I'm your host, Leah Frazier, and we are back with another power-packed episode. And this is one that I've been wanting to do for a while because of this trend of this phrase called thought leadership. And oftentimes I find, especially with founders, or maybe you're the owner of the brand, or maybe you have a personal brand, someone is pushing you, or maybe you're even seeing on social media this theory that I have to be a thought leader. Now, thought leadership is not for everybody. I will put that out there. Thought leadership should totally be reserved for subject matter experts. And what has happened, unfortunately, with the rise of social media and how anybody can be a millionaire, anybody can be a superstar, anybody could pretty much believe their own shit and create their own hype, right? This term, thought leadership, and even being a subject matter expert has become quite muddy. We live in the world of, people that will say, hey, buy into my program and I can teach you how to make 6 figures in 1 hour, or buy into my program and I am a coach and I can show you how to be a millionaire for only working 4 hours a day. And sometimes we fall victim like, well, damn, I want to do that. I'm looking at their social media. Looks like they got it going on. Looks like they've done that for themselves. And oftentimes there really are people out there that have legit programs that can get you from A to Z. They really are the subject matter experts in business development and sales and marketing, or whatever it is they're trying to push to you. They really are the real deal. But there's also the dark side of things where you have people that haven't necessarily achieved that for themselves, or if they have, they haven't done it long enough to really be considered the expert. And then they push you a program that maybe they've seen from someone else, or maybe they've copied to a T a program from their business coach, but they've not necessarily have been in it long enough to push it to you. And now they're the, coined thought leader in a really spammy, just shitty program. Okay. So we've seen the dark side of it where thought leadership gets muddied with people that are just trying to make a quick buck. They're, just trying to make a quick dollar. They're super spammy and they're scamming people. And if you go out there and Google, there's plenty of cases out there about folks that have had a rise on social media, or maybe they were a big time influencer and then didn't have the business savvy and ended up scamming a lot of people. So just be super careful. However, I don't think that that's indicative of any of you that are listening. I don't think you're trying to scam people. I think you have legit businesses, or maybe you're an entrepreneur listening in, a small business owner, a startup founder, whatever. And you really do know your subject, whatever industry you are in. You know it cold. You can talk about it backwards and forwards. You're at the cusp, or even sometimes at the beginning of innovation, or you know where things are headed, but the phones aren't ringing off the hook for your opinion when it matters the most. When a TV news anchor or producer needs a subject matter expert real quick, you're not on their list because you haven't pushed yourself out there, or you haven't had the right strategy behind it yet. But that's okay. That's what this episode is all about. And I'll tell you, once you listen to our guest and start applying some of the things that she talks about in this episode, it can happen for you. I'll be honest, this week I had a frantic text from a morning show producer at like 7 something in the morning. And I was laying in bed and it was like, Leah, our guest dropped out for Tuesday. What do you got for me? And I sit up in bed and I text her back. I was like, give me 10 minutes to think, and I'll send you an email with pitches. And so I thought long and hard through my client list, and it's a thought process, like what's going on in this month? Is there any trending news topics that are going on? Is there a crazy national day, or is there a national month that this month is known for? I kind of quickly go through that process. I had about 4 clients that fit the mold, and I believe there was one that wasn't a client, but we're really close friends. And I dictated it in an email. Okay, it's National blah, blah, blah day on the Tuesday that you needed a guest. And this month is National blah, blah, blah. And here's who fits the mold and here's what they can speak to. It made it so much easier that they were subject matter experts in whatever. And I could just spit it off like boom, boom, boom. She could look at their social media and see that they are actually doing the thing that I'm pitching them for. So there's evidence, right, of their thought leadership. There's evidence of their expertise. So I'm not just, blowing smoke up her ass. And yeah, I sent her the pitch. I believe there was 4 in there, not 5. So there was 4. I did one on whatever this national month was. I did another one on, hey, on that day, did you know it's the national day of blah, blah, blah. And then I had 2 regular topics that were trending with some things that were going on in the news. And she hit me back, and she actually took one and texted me back 2 hours later and said, hey, you pitched this. Can we bring them on the following day? So I actually got 2 bookings based off of those clients' expertise. So the same thing can happen to you. And what I want for most of you is not just to get booked once, but I want you to consistently get booked in your area of expertise and build the relationship with the outlet so you can get that frantic text at 7 a.m. in the morning. Hey, someone just dropped out for a segment. What do you got for me? And then you can insert yourself and consistently get called on to be that source. I think that's the most important thing. So before we get into the episode, I just want to tell you a little bit about our guest. She's a super duper badass. And as soon as I received information on Copple Masingill, I had to have her on. And we've been going back and forth for a couple of months, just trying to get this scheduled right. But what popped out to me the most was that not only is she the founder of Full Swing PR, which we talk about in the episode, but Caitlin knows her business backwards and forwards. And not only just that, she has built a business that helps women. She's built a business that helps those in marginalized communities. She's built a business that helps those in the LGBTQIA plus community. She helps to amplify their stories and to push their efforts to the forefront in the media. She has so much expertise. She has a track record of media placements in Fast Company and Forbes and Time and the New York Times, and the list goes on and on and on. She's a former journalist, so she definitely knows what the hell she's talking about. And we're going to talk about how to become a non-shady thought leader. So we don't want you to be the person, pushing the 6-figure in 6 minutes program. You can, but we want you to do it in the most genuine and authentic way. So we're going to talk about self-promotion. We're going to talk about what does it mean to be a thought leader. We're going to talk about some strategies on how you can propel yourself as a thought leader in the media and how to do it in a very non-cringy way. Okay. So just go ahead and you know what to do. Get your pen, get your pad, come back, because after a quick word from Kitcaster, one of our sponsors of the show, we're going to hear from Caitlin, and you're not going to want to miss this. So come right back. We'll be back.
This episode is brought to you by Kitcaster. Kitcaster books you on top podcasts. How do funded startup founders attract prospects and talent? Podcast interviews. How do entrepreneurs with exits find new deals? Podcast interviews. How do C-suite execs differentiate in crowded markets? Podcast interviews. Kitcaster books you on top podcasts. Click the link in the show notes for a special offer. Celebrate good conversation.
All right, welcome back to another episode of PR Yourself with Leah Frazier. I'm so excited because today, of all days, we finally get to tackle this mysterious thought leadership phrase. What does it mean? How do you do it? Are you even the right person to pursue this for your brand? And I have the expert here with me today, Copple Masingill. Did I say it right?
You sure did.
Yes, she is here. And I just want to talk a little bit just about you. What I found fascinating is that you founded your PR company in 2019, all the while with a 2-year-old.
Yes, he is now 6. It is a hard time in life for anyone that has a child. I don't know if there's an easy time in life, because I feel like even the people I know that have teenagers, parenting is a trip.
So what made you want to go full force? You're in mom mode. And I mean, because starting an agency or even just starting a business period is hard. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about that journey for you.
Sure. Yeah. Well, when I started Full Swing, I was really just hoping to be one of those 6-figure solopreneurs that you hear about. And I was like, if I can make $100,000 someday, that will be great. I will be so happy. And it turns out I actually made my old salary from an agency in like 5 months. So I was like, holy cow, maybe I should do something with this. And I really was motivated by wanting to have more time with my kid. And just, I think also something can happen sometimes to women when we're about 35 years old and we're like, it's actually not this hard. And like, there's a lot of people stupider than me doing this and making money at it. So perhaps I should also try.
You said it. I did it. You said it. I did it. There are a lot of people where you wonder like, wait a minute, I care more. I work way harder, and they're like multimillionaires in this game. So what's really going on here?
Yeah, totally, for sure. And then I think what really made me want to actually build a real big kid business, an agency that employs others, was getting to know Rachel Rogers and the Hello 7 community that we've been a part of basically since 2020 now anyway. And I think just understanding the statistics that only 2% of women-owned businesses hit $1 million or more in revenue is ridiculous. And it's particularly important to me as a PR firm that, we work with underrepresented leaders, that we know that BIPOC folks start businesses at a much higher rate than white women even, right? So like what are the barriers? What are those kind of glass ceilings that we're all facing, and how do we shatter those? And to me, building a PR platform is a big part of that.
I love that, especially when I was reading about the work that you do, specifically with women leaders, making sure that their stories get told or that they're amplified in their PR strategies, but also very specifically, you were saying BIPOC and the LGBTQ community, which is important because just being a Black woman myself, I understand the lack of representation. We get inundated with requests, and it's just like, we're only so big, I'm at bandwidth, but I think navigating those waters, to your point, where it's less than 2%, or if you're thinking about founders or women founders that are trying to raise venture capital, that number is low as well. So kudos to you for the work that you're doing to amplify their voices.
Thank you. Yeah, I think, one of the things that my business partner, Holly, and I talk about a lot is how do we help our clients really define the universe that they want to shine in, because you are not for everyone, and that's okay. Really, you just need enough people that think what you're doing is cool to help you make a living. Because most of the clients we work with are, they're under 10 million. So they're still small businesses. They might seem like a big business compared to some of your listeners, but that $1 to $10 million range where you have a business, but you still have to care about sales. So we always want to make sure that whatever we're doing in terms of strategic communications planning for clients really results in some type of sales metric, right? Because at the end of the day, that's what's going to move the needle. And so I think media relations or just publicity on its own doesn't always do that. I think thought leadership done well, which I'm excited to talk more about today, is the thing that can actually help move the needle because it translates so well to the content creation that you should be doing anyway for your email marketing, for your social media, for just how you're showing up for clients. That's kind of why I like it as a tactic. It's also great because it really allows you to control the message. And I think a lot of underrepresented leaders sometimes feel either burned perhaps by the media in the past, or just really, understandably kind of gun shy about putting themselves out there and how that's going to be received. So having, that first person expert content can really be helpful when you're just kind of getting in the game.
I'm glad that you brought that up specifically about just target audiences. Oftentimes with small businesses, you think you're for everybody, or I made a product, it's for everybody. So I'm glad that you said you're not for everybody, and that's okay. And there's a line that you can draw between your PR, your marketing, and your sales to hit that audience and reach them exactly where they're at. So that's awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's kind of like I used to work in political campaigns, which is why I love Olivia Pope. We were talking about that earlier. But I think it's just so important to keep that in mind that all you need is 50% plus one, right? It's the same. Yeah. You are not for the general public. That is not a target audience. So let's hone it down and figure out really who you're meant to speak to and who's going to be most interested and resonate the most with your message.
And what resonated with me is you saying PR does not equal, like that little math sign from grade school, sales.
Yeah.
There's all these little elements that go together. Oftentimes, one of the more complaints I would say from the publicist side is clients getting frustrated because, hey, I did this TV and I didn't see any traction from that. Or we had another publicist on 2 episodes ago who talked about a client begging, like, all I want is GQ. Mm-hmm. And they got them GQ and it was like, I didn't see anything from that GQ placement. Yeah. So I love that you're here to talk today about how thought leadership, which is trending, it's a trendy thing, is a way to kind of almost bridge that gap between your PR, your marketing, and your content and your sales strategy.
Yeah. So the thing, I mean, if folks listening are wondering, like, how do I know if I'm ready or not to engage in thought leadership? A couple of things I would tell them. One, do you actually have something to say? Because there are a lot of business owners out there that tend to be kind of scared, like, are they willing to put themselves out there in a way that is different from, the typical Joe Schmo of their industry? I think that's really important for one. I think second, maybe it should really be first, is that you have to have an actual proven track record of working with clients and having transformative results. So
can you say that again? I mean, can you say that again for the people in the back?
Sure. So you need to have done something impactful that you can talk about. So I think it's a little bit like thought leader can be like coach adjacent. And I'm the biggest fan of coaching, but their coaches is like, it's one of those industries or one of those words that's almost become meaningless because there's so many snake oil salesmen and women out there, like you gotta have something there. You gotta have a real secret sauce that you can show people and tell people that delivers actual results. Otherwise you are not a thought leader. Sorry. Just keep working on your business model and serving clients and then come back to me when you actually have some results.
You mean I can't just make 6 figures one time and then build a coaching program telling you how I made $1 million or 6 figures and I haven't done it repetitively?
You might be able to, but I just think that's it's pretty risky, and it's risky from a standpoint of integrity and just, from trying to help the people that you really want to work with. I think you owe it to them and to yourself to make sure that there's something there, if you will.
So let's backtrack a little bit just on the term itself, thought leadership. We hear it thrown around. I know oftentimes I'll get an author or, like you said, someone with a personal brand or maybe even an influencer that will reach out wanting to expand into this arena, but maybe not necessarily understanding exactly what it is. So in your own words, who or what is thought leadership?
Yeah. So to me, a thought leader is somebody that holds subject matter expertise, somebody who is the first, who is the only, who is applying fresh ideas or a fresh way of thinking to old problems, who is really able to make changes within their industry or within their community in a way that others can learn from.
I love that definition and the phrase subject matter expertise. So, hi, I can show you how to make $10,000 in one day and you only did it one time. I would think subject matter experts have probably done this consistently and repetitively over a course of time in order to then be the thought leader to
Correct.
showcase that.
Yeah, it's kind of like, people can write a memoir when they're 25, but most people will not write a very good memoir until they're like 60 or 50 or 40. I don't know, but you got to have some lived experience, right? And same within the course of your business. So my business went from 0 to 1.1 million as of this year. So less than 4 years.
Yeah.
High five. However, that does not mean that I've only done PR for 4 years, because if I'd done PR for 4 years, I probably wouldn't be on your podcast. I've done PR for like 15 years, right? And so even though my business is relatively young, I have a track record that goes, more than a decade of getting transformative results for clients in one way or another. So that's just an example that maybe is helpful for your listeners.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about having that repetition, or maybe whatever it is that you are thinking that lane you want to go in, maybe being an innovator in that lane. What are some other things that people can kind of check off the list where it's like, is thought leadership right for me, so that they don't come off as cheesy? Because I'll be honest with you, Caitlin. I've had some people within my networks where all of a sudden they start posting the inspirational memes, and I'm like, where is this coming from? And it does hit you with that cringe factor if you're not kind of known in that field. It almost feels disingenuous, as if you're trying to tap into thought leadership because it is trending and you're trying to make a quick buck. So what are some things people that really need to navigate it should do or look for?
Full Swing PR is a values-based business, and we love working with other values-aligned business leaders. And I think that really knowing and being clear on what your values are is huge. I think that when you know that, you just can't help but come off authentically for others. And I really believe that people's kind of PR superpower lies in whatever it is that makes you the UEest version of yourself. I think there's really magic there. And so many of us, have shadow around that, or grow up feeling like, Black women don't grow up to lead businesses, or queer women don't run for office, or whatever the thing is. It's like when we are able to do that inner work and really lean into like, who did we want to be when we were 8 years old? And how do we make sure that little person is living their best life right now? I think there's magic there. And that's really a lot of the work that we do with clients. It's a little bit woo-woo, but I think it's very much connected to how you show up in the world. What else was I going to say about that?
Well, I'll tell you while you're thinking, one of the biggest things that I hear from folks as we kind of navigate these waters is, I don't have a big enough social media following to even consider being a thought leader. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think your social media following is way less important than actually having a business model that works. So back to what we were saying about having transformative results that you're in a position to share with the world. I think having a framework for how you work with clients, for how you would approach, these big problems in your industry differently is way more important than having a big social media following. It goes back to do you have something to say, right? Yeah. I think what you have to say is often tied into those meaningful results that you've hopefully spent your career creating. Now,
is it to their advantage to then do that repetitiously through content on social, or how? I feel like a lot of folks who actually would be great implementing this as a part of their strategy is just like, Leah, I don't know if I should be on YouTube, LinkedIn, doing this on Instagram, and now everybody is ticking and talking. What am I supposed to do? And it's too much out there.
It's a lot. It is a lot. And I think it's a matter of picking one or two things and doing it consistently over time and seeing, what works, what resonates with your audience. Or if you really hate it and you can't wrap your mind around it, but you have a successful business, hire it out. I don't want to do my books, so I hire someone called a bookkeeper, right? And I don't know how to grow, a multi-million-dollar business. So I have a coach, and I also have a fractional CFO. There are people that have done this, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel for all the things. So if someone anyone's listening and they're a writer, then by all means, like start writing your book and test your book idea with your audience by creating LinkedIn articles once a week or once a month or whatever feels achievable to you, and then repurpose that content for your email newsletter. All of that stuff is really important. I do think what is different about, to me, true thought leadership is the ability to publish writing, or maybe it's a video, some sort of unique content on a third-party site. So it's not just showing up on your own social media. That can be part of your thought leadership strategy, but it's not the only thing. You want to be able to show up on other people's news sites with authority and credibility, because at the end of the day, thought leadership is really building those two things and having that outside validation so that clients and customers will find you and want to work with you. So another important point on that is that if you publish a great thought leadership piece on your own blog, then no one else is going to want it because you already broke the story, if you will. So you should always try to pitch it elsewhere before you throw it up on LinkedIn or your own personal blog. Original content is king, or queen in this case.
That's right.
Yeah.
I love that you said that, because we had a guest on, gosh, it was last year, and she had a piece. It was an op-ed. She wrote it right after George Floyd, and it got picked up by the Wall Street Journal, and then they published it. And before you know it, they called her back and was like, hey, can you repurpose this? Or a book publisher called her back and said, can you take this very same piece and possibly recreate other op-eds or small short stories alongside it? Then it was published in a book, and then it was a best-selling book, and I believe it was a New York Times bestseller. And it was just crazy how this one area of where she's like, this is my expertise. I talk about Black joy. I wrote this because I was inspired by my daughter during this time. Wall Street Journal, now best-selling author, and it's just insane. And I think she was just nominated for an NAACP award. So it was just like it couldn't get any better than that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And there is something to, like, yes, sometimes you just happen to be at the right place at the right time, but I'm also a big believer in making your own luck. And part of that happens because you are consistently taking aligned action, right? Yeah. And the other part of it is that you're paying attention to the news cycle. So what is everybody in your industry or the area of the world in which you want to have an impact? What are they talking about? What is the word on the street, and what is it that you have that is unique to you and your experience and your transformative business results that you can chime in and add something of value to that conversation?
Another thing that came up for me is, as we were talking about this, and I know I was joking around about cringy thought leaders, but hey, it exists.
Oh, it's real.
It's a real thing. Maybe there's someone that is super genuine, but oftentimes people try to recreate what they've seen or has deemed as successful, not knowing that they're kind of going down that road. Or is there a couple of things that you could think of where it's kind of like a don't do this, like shy away from XYZ, or things that you've seen as an expert where you're like, ugh, I hate it when leaders do this?
Yeah, well, I mean, this should be obvious, but don't steal other people's ideas or other people's work, because that's something that happens way more than you think. We have this great client, former client now, but she's still like a friend to our agency, and somebody stole her freaking ebook and was putting it out as their own. And she's a Black woman, and she just had 2 babies, and I'm just like, she had twins, not 2 babies. The same time, she's just amazing. And I'm so mad that this happened. And I think she handled it really beautifully online, but like, that is the last thing that you should be worrying about. And it's just trash behavior. So don't do that. I think anything like that is around trying to be something that you're not is a bad way to go, right? And I think you need to have a community of folks that you trust, whether that's an agency that will tell it to you straight, or whether that's, other business owners that are at kind of your same level or higher who will speak the truth to you. You need to have somebody besides your own self doing some of that gut check work for yourself. But again, I think if you start from a place of values and knowing what it is that you stand for and who you are, the odds of folks feeling like they need to take a shower after they look at your Instagram go down exponentially.
And y'all don't play. Y'all know there's people out there where you're like, ugh, mute for 30 days because it's just on team too much.
Yeah.
all
But
the
I
time.
think one of the things that I think is the most annoying in terms of thought leadership is it's not saying anything. It just sounds so corporate, it sounds so blah. It's just boring, right? It's not actually
Yeah.
adding anything to the conversation. It's not, I think it's disrespectful to your potential customers and to your readers or viewers because you are not saying anything of substance that is going to make a bigger impact in the world. So,
Yeah.
I mean, most of the folks we work with have some type of social impact ethos, right, driving their business. And so we really like to lean into that. Like, for example, even just with my own thought leadership and our business, we are based in Idaho, which is basically Mississippi, but it's in the Northwest. And so we've got all kinds of trigger bans and terrible laws. And so we decided that we were going to cover travel expenses for anybody who works in Idaho. We're a remote business. Not everyone's here. Anyone who needs to seek abortion care because they can go 50 miles down the road to Oregon, right? But we wanted to do that. And it's really important to take that kind of stand. It's very unpopular in the business community in Idaho because people are scared being a super majority conservative Republican state. But I'm not scared. And so I'm like, I don't want your business anyway if this makes you not want to work with me. And I think we need more leaders, not that I'm perfect, but like we need more leaders willing to say something that's important, and stand up, whether
That's
it's
commendable. It's so commendable.
or I mean, there's no shortage of terrible issues happening in the world for you to choose. Doesn't have to be abortion, but pick yours, and lean into it. And I think people appreciate that authenticity and just knowing where you stand.
And I think you brought up a great point that sometimes thought leadership is not all roses and rainbows. It could be taking a stance at a time where not everybody's going to support you, something you believe in, or if you're trying to make changes in an area where, like you said, if you're in a Republican state and that ain't your bag, it could be yours just feeling like you're standing out there alone. But I see the positive in that. You're creating your own lane. You're going to probably quickly be that go-to person because you actually had the guts to speak up.
I mean, I would hope that it seems to be how it works for our clients, and certainly how it's worked for our own business is, if you truly want to be a leader, that does not mean following what everyone else is doing. It seems very simple, but I think sometimes people have to be reminded of that. Like, it's not leadership to just toe the line or fall in line, right? It really is to put yourself out there and do something that's well thought out, but is also, new. It's unique, and it's a different way of thinking. It's a different way of doing business.
Is there anything you see trending that, in this area? Is there, like, it could be anything from strategy to, hey, do this kind of content platform. Like, what are you seeing trending?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that is unique about our approach to thought leadership at Full Swing is that we really focus on who do you want to reach? Like, who is your customer and where are they getting their information? It seems, again, really easy, but I think people are like, oh, I want to be on Good Morning America, or I want to be in the New York Times. And that's great. And we can work on that too. But in the meantime, like, if you're an attorney, maybe you need to be in the State Bar Journal or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, you sell insurance. So let's talk about like what are the insurance industry trade journals where you could potentially be a guest columnist, something like that. I think people often miss out on those kind of like insider trade publication or podcast kinds of opportunities that really can be pretty low lift. A lot of those folks are hungry for guests and hungry for submissions. And if you get one or two clients out of that, you might have just paid for your PR contract or your, whatever the next thing is that you need to buy for your business. I think the other missed opportunity that a lot of the businesses kind of in that $3 to $5 million range, even, they think they have to do it all themselves, and they are not willing to just make the investment to buy back their time and take some stuff off their plate. And I think people might, be envious of, CEO Jane over here writing consistent weekly LinkedIn articles or getting to be in Inc. or Fast Company or Forbes as a guest contributor. And they don't realize that there's a ghostwriter helping with all that.
Yeah, I agree.
Jane is busy doing something else, or maybe she's sipping a mimosa in Bali. I don't know what she's doing. She's probably not writing her own content. So keep that in mind. There's lots of different ways to do it. I mean, you could get a full service agency that will do all the things for you, and that can work great for some people. Other folks need more of a freelancer or just a ghostwriter. But the going rate is like $2 a word. So it's not cheap. Don't expect that it's cheap, especially if you really want it to be good. But I do think if folks are thinking about putting out a book or really wanting to ramp up what they charge for speaking, like you need to start now if you have a book coming out in 2024, or even if you're going to get a book proposal going in 2024, right? You can't just start like 3 months before and expect results.
Caitlin, are you in my head?
I would like to be in your head. It seems like
last episode was timing is everything because people are trying. I need a publicist. When does your book come out? Next month.
Tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay, get out of my head. Get out of my head. Okay. So before we wrap, I want to just get it a little bit more about your firm. So people, if they want to reach out, because there's going to be the majority that's like, this is all great. I don't want to do this myself. So tell us a little bit about ideal clients for you guys, or maybe some cool and fun stuff you're working on.
Yeah, so we love working with BIPOC and queer founders, folks who have always been underestimated and who are perhaps unlikely entrepreneurs, but have had some success, have a proven business model, have something to sell, right? And are ready to increase their brand visibility. We have a ton of free resources on our website. If you just go under freebies, there's all kinds of stuff to get you started for free. We also have a one-page PR plan. It's not actually one page. It's a little longer than that, but it gets you to a one-page template at the end. So stay with it. And you can also figure out how to work with us. We have a 6-week PR accelerator that helps you make headlines and really see what's possible when you have an agency behind you and get some quick wins. I don't think we've had anyone that has not had, has achieved their goals through that. We've had folks in Insider, Harvard Business Review, Pop Sugar, some really great results in a really short amount of time. So if you're a little bit skeptical, understandably, you feel like the way to go. We most of our clients work with us for a year or longer, because again, that's really when you start to see the massive results. And it's been so rewarding to see businesses grow from 2 million to 10 million in the time that my own little business has gone to over 1 million. So I just love working to change, who holds wealth and who holds power in our country, because our democracy needs some help. And I think if we get different people in charge, we'll be a lot better off. So that's what motivates me. And hopefully you too.
You get our vote, Caitlin. You get our vote.
Oh, thanks. I'm not even running yet, but
when you do, you get our vote.
Thank you. Yeah. And I think just the last thing just to leave with your audience is that thought leadership really does build trust when it's done well. 89% of decision makers are using thought leadership, subject matter expertise to help vet who they want to work with. That's where you're trying to get other business owners to hire you. There's really no reason not to be doing this stuff. And it's good practice. If you want to write a book, start doing it in chunks.
I love it. Caitlin, I appreciate all of your expertise today. Like, this was great. I've got plenty of content I could chop this up for. So you're amazing. Tell people how they can. No, you are awesome. How can people find you online, and if they want to follow you on social media?
Oh, yes. So we are at fullswingpr.com, at fullswingpr on Instagram. That's probably our most active one. I personally cannot stay away from Twitter, even though it's a cesspool of awfulness. And I probably should get off soon, but I'm still there at Caitlin Copple. And then I'm also on LinkedIn.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Caitlin, for joining me today. You guys know what to do if you found this valuable. Definitely reach out to Caitlin or Full Swing PR. Nab the freebies. Like, why not? Nab the freebies. And I love the accelerator idea. Like, go just check it out. Just dip your toe in the PR water and see what you can discover for yourself. And you know what to do. Rate and review. That helps me to bring just fabulous guests like Caitlin on for you. Caitlin, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. It's an honor to meet Olivia Pope of Dallas.
Thank you. I try. Thank you guys for
Olivia Pope of Idaho.
You can. We could just make this on a by-state basis. And then depending on what state people are in, we just recommend them to each other. And that's it. That is a wrap. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Caitlin is such a gem. She dropped so many gems, and I've already invited her to just come on back on. So as soon as I see something in an opening, we're definitely going to have Caitlin back because she's just doing amazing, amazing things. She gave her tips just so freely, and the conversation just flowed so effortlessly. And I hope that you really, really enjoyed everything that she had to say. So you know what to do. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to this podcast. It helps me and it helps you when you're able to share this out, because then I'm able to bring on more amazing guests just like Caitlin. And don't just stop right there. Go and click and rate the show and leave us a review. That helps us to get better. It helps me to get the word out. Again, it helps me to bring on sponsors and all these things that can occur to the benefit for not just me, but for you also as you continue to listen to PR Yourself with Leah Frazier. If you want to leave me a note, you can shoot me a DM. Feel free to do that on LinkedIn. I'm obviously there at Leah Frazier, or you can hit me up on Instagram at the Leah Frazier. That's my personal account. Or you can go ahead and hit us up on the podcast account at PR Yourself with Leah Frazier, or hit us up online, pryourselfwithleahfrazier.com. Shoot us a message. If you think you're a great fit for the show, go ahead and pitch us there using all the tips we've shared from every season thus far. And I just look forward to connecting with you. So again, share, rate, and review. And I'll leave you with all of that. And until next time.